Right, so today we're going to be talking about being black in the workplace. Black lives matter. Black lives. No, I'm joking, man.
Stop it. Stop it.
Sometimes you need to be pro in it. I've got the whole, kente
I
here and
hear
all that
you.
kind of stuff.
I hear you.
But yeah, being black in the workplace.
Mm.
I'll be honest with you. It applies to me,
Mm.
but I feel like I don't necessarily represent what I see on social media or everything else.
Okay.
I don't know if it's because of the way I think or whether it's because I'm lucky. Because I'm hearing some madness, like when it comes to certain people in the workplace and how people treat them and stuff.
Mm.
Don't get me wrong, I've had my episodes here and there. Um, but I guess my opinion is you do have to, depending on your industry, you do have to carry yourself a certain way. And I think sometimes that makes people feel uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
because they're like, why do I have to act different to myself? Which I agree with. I'm all about self-expression and whatever it is. But at the same time, if you want to get what you need to get, then you need to decide, are you willing to compromise or not?
Yeah.
It depends. I don't know. I do think things need to change, but I'm going to see what you say first before I continue.
I think you just talked about two different things to me.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So there's the one part about keeping it real and being real. And so because you're being real,
Yeah.
if you're from the hood, you must talk like you're from the hood at all times. That's one thing. And then the other thing is about being black and maybe you don't want to talk out in a meeting because you feel like they might label you aggressive or feeling like you have to get there before everyone else because you must prove a point and you must stay later because you must prove a point or having work colleagues instead of shaking your hand want to spud you.
Yeah, that's mad.
This is real life.
That's
This
mad,
is
bro.
real life. So I think the two are separate. So you just let me know which one you want to talk about first, and we're gonna go there.
I have no idea, but I'll be honest with you. Being from the hood doesn't mean you're black. It's different. There are black people who are not hood. It's that simple. So I guess the second one, because I think that opens it up.
Okay. So for me, the second one is definitely a thing. I've experienced it. I've experienced working in a big corporate, big bank, big corporate, and being the only one in my team, one in my
The
area,
token, yeah?
the token. And then I remember we had a convention, national convention. Flew us up to Manchester. Went to Manchester. Must be about 600, 700 advisors throughout the country. This time, advisors in every branch. So all the advisors were here on the day. Out of let's call it 600. There was about 8 black advisors out of 600, and there was one black female, and all of them, apart from me, because I worked in central London, in the city, all of them worked in Brixton, Birmingham,
Them
Manchester,
Bay areas.
Peckham, Lewisham. They all worked in areas that were predominantly black. And it made me realise that it's not by accident.
Of course not. That's not by accident. That's not even strategic. That's just, you'll probably get along with
Yeah.
this place. Yeah.
And so for me, I didn't have that because I worked in the city, and so I'd always worked in the city. So there were definitely things, and when I tell you I've had it where you meet people and all of a sudden they don't want to shake your hand, they want to spud you. All of a sudden they see you and they're like, yo, but you wasn't yoing anybody else. Why are you comfortable to yo me? They see you and all of a sudden it's like, oh, do you like Dr. Dre?
Yeah, that's mad,
Where
bro.
does that come from?
Yeah. That's a bit mad. I guess for me, I don't know. See, I haven't experienced that. Don't get me wrong. There have been things that have been said here, and I can't think of them at the moment. But I guess my experience within the black place is more about what happens around other black people. You
Tell
know,
them.
So, for example, the NHS
Mm-hmm.
is, I think, is quite good in terms of its diversity and stuff. And you know, we don't really have a problem with sort of like seeing another black person here and there. And usually, I'm quite friendly. You know, it's just a smile, just a nod. You know, how's it going? Recognizing there's another brother or another sister, whatever it is there. But sometimes it feels as though that other black people don't even want to acknowledge you. What is that? Or if it comes to like black women, you just give them a nod or whatever it is. Oh, this guy's trying to move to me. All that kind of nonsense. What makes you think that? Why do you think you're God's gift to women? I'm just simply saying hi. That's all it is. It's not a big deal.
But I feel like there is the majority that are happy to see you. Like, but I've had it even at my current workplace where there's a girl at my workplace and we talk, and now her manager said something. Her line manager said something, so she was like, "Oh, we can't talk anymore because if we talk, they're gonna think we're dating." When a black guy and a black girl talk at work, all of a sudden, there must be something going on.
Do you know what? I know this is extreme, yeah, but it comes down to this whole how a black man and woman is sexualized, especially a black woman. At the end of the day, so obviously, I know people who sort of like hang around together in NHS, and they proper have lunch together and everything else, innit? And then they were called a gang.
Oh wow!
They were like, "Oh, have you gone to see your gang again?" What kind of nonsense is that?
My goodness.
And I'm just thinking, why would you use that?
Of course, they know
that
why
word.
It's not by accident.
Nah, obviously you got 4 or 5 black individuals meeting every whatever. Obviously they carry a certain energy and everything. So for whatever reason, people are getting intimidated by what they're saying, even though they can't hear them. And then you say, "Oh, have fun with your gang today." What kind of? And this is recent times, This is not like a couple of years ago. This is like this year.
It's fear. I always tell people it's fear. 4 white boys in a hoodie. It's not a gang. They're just having fun. 4 black boys in the same hoodies, in the same location, and they're a gang. And they're intimidating. And now I feel like I have to cross the street. And so when we fear things, we label them to make ourselves feel better. But at the end of the day, for me, I feel like, what do we do in that situation? Do we go to HR and say, "Oh, they're calling us a gang"? Of course we don't. Because we've got that black strength and we'll just take it. It's just acceptable for these things to happen. It's what happens in the workplace, but only to us.
Yeah, I feel like there are certain things that are accepted, and I think it very much does depend where you work. So again, obviously, I work in a public sector job. I don't know if all public sector jobs are like this, but for me, I don't experience these things. I really don't. In my team, I am the only black person there. Sometimes I even sort of like play into it a little bit. Do you know what I mean? But it's never from a point where I feel like they're uncomfortable or whatever it is. Sometimes I can be that angry black person. I don't care, because that's part of my character anyway. Because for me, and obviously I've been given the opportunity to do this because some people are not, I'll tell them straight. I'm very blunt, I'm very upfront. Not necessarily in a rude way, whether that's perceived like that or not, that's a different story. But I'm very open and honest. And I think I'm like that from the get-go. And I think for some people, they do have the opportunity to do that and they don't do that. And for other people, they just don't, because that's just the culture.
I hear you. And I think when we think about it, I feel like we don't even think about workplace in the same way when it comes to certain industries. So when you talk about football, we don't think about how many black footballers there are, but how few black managers there are, how few black owners there are. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's like we're accepted in certain positions, but not in others.
Why do you think that is?
I think number one is because we accept it. I think we don't have a drive, or we don't have I want to prove them, I want to get there. And then also I feel like a lot of these things are generational. You see, you look at certain industries and they're passed down. So the people at the top, when they leave, their children or their nephews or nieces or their friends, the kids of their friends that are taking over. And
Yeah.
so because of that, there's way for them.
Yeah, I guess I can see what point you're making there, and I think to add to that, for me, it comes down to a very sort of childish mentality of I'm comfortable with people who look like me. That's what it is.
Is that wrong? Is that right? Is that wrong?
Well, I don't know. Like, what is right and wrong? You know, we base right and wrong based on what morality is and how we feel as individuals. You know, I've heard someone say to me, you know, and I think they said this unknowingly, by the way. They said to me, I like to sort of recruit people into my team who look like me. You know? Now, from a very sort of like broad range of view, that could mean so many things. But from a specific point of view, especially coming from a background where race is important, diversity is important, culture is important, that could be misconstrued a certain way. You know, some people say, and I know from a HR point of view, you should employ people that represent the population. But at the end of the day, will black people ever be happy with that? Will Asian people ever be happy with that? You know, at the end of the day, because for me, from a very sort of grassroots point of view, it will become dog eat dog.
Yeah, but the thing is that when you say population, I think people think, oh, do the population, the UK. Yeah, but we live in London.
It's different.
Someone in Scotland can't work. It's not gonna. Not many of them are gonna be. Do you understand? So for me, it's that if we're in London, what's the population like in London? The mix is there. The mix is there.
But how big is that mix?
The mix.
I'm not even saying that ratio is right.
No,
Because really and truly, if it comes to the workplace, should you invite people in because they're competent or because of their race? Because let's be real, some people are just, they got the job because they're black, because they need to tick a certain quota.
But yeah, it's important. It's important.
No, but do you think that's right? Like, do you think that's okay to do?
Yeah, I definitely think it's okay to do. I definitely think that a lot of the time people are surprised by doing that because it's more than what you can just do with a job. Now you're bringing in a different experience. You're bringing a different culture. You're learning about different people. And this is how we get to a place where we are a human race. You see, if I always hang with people that look like me, speak like me, have my experiences, come from the same social class as me, I limit my life experience. And I don't appreciate what I have. How do I appreciate my upbringing if I don't even understand that there are others that have?
So that removes, like, I hear what you're saying, but that removes from competence, innit? Because for some people may feel a bit like, so I worked hard, but they only sort of like selected me because I'm black.
No, I think we miss it because the other side is that actually I might not be as educational competent, but my desire and my hunger cannot be matched by someone who hasn't had to hustle to get to even into this.
But that can't be proved.
No, but it can be.
No. It can be afterwards, but not beforehand when you're selected.
Yeah, but that's why you select someone. You can select someone based on their hunger. You can see the potential in someone and say someone else might be better on paper.
Yeah.
But your potential and the skills that you have.
I agree. But that's not necessarily a black thing. I'm just talking about ticking a box. That's what I'm saying. That could be slightly different. You could have no hunger or desire, but academically, you don't quite fit the bill. But because you're black, you know, get the job. Gonna work with Tommy and Angie.
You know, I don't know about that because for me, that's not business, and I'm a businessman. That doesn't make business sense to me. For me, I want to find the best, and so maybe what I do is increase my talent pool. Maybe I say I don't just take the first black person that comes along to tick that box, but maybe I say I'm looking for someone of another ethnicity to diversify my workplace, but they still must have the competency.
Of course, yeah, that's slightly different.
And that's different. That's what I would do if I was a business. I would have a job and I say, okay, actually here, we couldn't hire, but we're going to keep looking. So maybe I need to work with certain agencies. Maybe I need to look at certain charities. Maybe I need to go to certain schools where I can nurture. Because if I'm putting out, asking for CVs and it's not getting in, how do I actively make sure I find those people. So maybe I need to go to a certain school in a certain neighborhoods and start an initiative, and then send some of my best workers over there for an hour, just to give these people hope, just to give them a different way to think, and get them in that way, and nurture it that way.
Yeah, no, I hear that. I think when you say it like that, it's totally different to just the tick box, because there's more of a concerted effort to bring a different culture into the workplace.
Exactly.
And it's proven already, when you sort of like integrate with different ethnicities and cultures, you're going to get a stronger workforce, because they're bringing so much more than just what the common person would have in that specific country.
Definitely.
But what about sort of like, I don't know, when Ade and Kwesi meet each other, you know, in a certain sort of like working environment, do you think there's usually competition there? Do you think there's like, oh, we need to stick together because we're brothers, or brother and sister, whatever it is? Like, what's your viewpoint on that?
Me, I'm very much about brotherhood. I'm very much about community. I'm very much about, I will eat less if it means that we have more. That's my heart. But everyone doesn't have that heart. Everyone can't be like that. And so I don't feel like we should try and force people to be what they're not. Like, you got to be who you are. I feel like some people are just very alpha with it. I want to be the top dog.
Yeah.
And so I want to step on everyone. And in certain industries that works. Do you know what I mean? And so if that's you, that's you. But I just feel like I'm a man. If I get somewhere, especially if I get somewhere and I don't see my people, I put it on my back to say, how do I get more of my people in here? And I've purposely gone and taught people how to apply for jobs.
Well, that's why you're Noir XL, innit?
Train
Black
them.
excellence.
Black excellence. I've trained people how to do interviews, what questions they're going to ask you, what you need to say, how to do it, and help them get in there. Why? Because to me, if we're not all eating, I don't want to eat.
Yeah, I hear you. I think it's a bit, I think that mentality is weird. Again, I've never really experienced it myself, you know. But saying that, I think the NHS is slightly different, because we're used to seeing sort of that level of diversity. You know, from time to time, you do end up being a token person, but teams are not sort of like that big or huge, whatever it is. And when I say the NHS, I'm talking back end. I'm not necessarily saying hospitals and stuff, you know. But what about racism in the workplace? What we deem in as racism, you know, is it something outright and obvious, or is it that overt sort of like indirect racism?
I don't even know anymore. I feel like for me, the racism isn't necessarily outright anymore. I feel it's very, especially in the UK. I think that's the difference between the UK and the US.
Yeah.
I think it's very out. It's very in your face in the US. I think over here, especially, you know, from the backgrounds that we've come from in regards to the UK, in going out, you know, I mean, look, the number one food they eat is Indian. Do you understand? Like the jewels, and you understand. We understand where the British Empire have got their thing. There's still countries today where they've got a Union Jack on their flag.
Of course, yeah.
Do you understand? So it's one of those things where it's very difficult to be outright when you've done so much. Do you know what I mean? But for me, it's when I see, you know, the brands, and they do, like, you had the guy with the monkey and
That's
like,
a mad,
those type of things. Like,
Yeah.
you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And even if you don't, it's because you've purposely chosen not to have enough diversity in your boardroom, so that all those people could look at it and not see the problem. Number one, or you're purposely doing it just for the publicity, because like they said, all news is good news.
Yeah, of course. Do you know what? There was this report that was released within, again, I'm using the NHS as an example because it's what I know, called the Snowy Peaks report. And it just showed that, I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but 3 out of every 40 CEOs or directors were black. And obviously that needs to change, hence why they got the Snowy Peaks.
Yeah.
You know, and they realized that people who reached a certain level, I think it was like middle management, were afraid to apply for certain jobs because they felt like they didn't get the backing of their sort of senior managers, or the systems weren't in place to sort of promote stuff. So they've tried to do a concerted effort to try and change that. But does that change the attitudes of what happens on a micro level when it comes to those teams? because people feel that way for a reason. I think partly we put it on ourselves sometimes. You know, sometimes because we create this energy and world of I'm the only black person here, you start to create a show. I've seen it happen so many times. But other times you're in environments where it's not you at all. It's fully them. You know, it's because they're so used to being in that circle, you know.
And it's important. I think about my career, and the person that changed me, his name's Hakeem, Asian brother, but he was a manager of a branch. And I remember when I come in there, obviously I'm just there cracking jokes, whatever. I'm working part-time, I'm doing my degree. And he was like, put me to the side and just told me, if you come on time, you're late. That stuck with me my whole life. If you're on time, you're late. I remember because of him, I changed my clock on my watch to be in 10 minutes. So that I would always feel like even if I was running late, I still had 10 minutes to spare because I was always running 10 minutes earlier than everyone else. And coming from an Asian brother who, to me, he's from the ends, taught like I taught, it meant a lot more. But you can't always get that. And I've had white managers that have really pushed me. And that push is so important. I couldn't be here today without the managers that I've had, whether black, white, Asian. And if you haven't got someone who's above that's been there, that's saying, look, go.
Yeah.
You need go. Because they're going to come back for a reference. They're going to say, look, we've interviewed Manny. Is he all right? What's he like? And you know, man, he's amazing. He's great. I recommend him. That push is so important. And I feel like that's why it's important for us not only to just do well for ourselves, but to also look to how we can help back, how we can hand back the experiences we can share. Because if we share our experiences, a wise person learns from another person's mistakes.
Of course.
And so that accelerates us as a people. Because all the mistakes I've been through, you don't have to go through. I'm going to tell you them. So now you're going to get to where I am now at 34. You're going to get that 26.
Yeah, I think that's very important. You know, I think at the end of the day, if you have that right sort of mentorship, and if you have people who can sort of like give you hindsight, you know, right now, you're less likely going to feel a lack of confidence, or you're more likely going to understand how to sort of play the level playing field, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, but I guess I also think about, what do we need to put more effort into? Do we need to put more effort into how we are as individuals, or do we have to put more effort into changing the system? Do you know what I mean? Because there's so much push on black this, black that, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not even trying to knock anything. I'm just making observations. But what about the other side, where it comes to, as you said at the beginning, as human beings, how are we taking on responsibility? How are we taking ownership in that sense? Like, are we assessing what we may be doing? And it's a tricky one, because it's almost like, it comes back to my original point. Why do we have to change? Why do we have to be different? And I'm not talking about that ratchet hood, you know, why do we have to be different? I'm talking about from an innate, normal human being, sort of like, why do we have to be different? To whether we have to play the game. Like, do you believe in playing the game, so to speak? Or do you believe in no game needs to be played?
For me, it's two. I think number one, and this is what we talked about in the beginning, when you talk to a child, you don't talk to a child the same way you talk to an adult. And it's the same way. The way you are at home is not the same way you're at the workplace. So even though man is from the ends, if I need to go into work and talk in a certain way, that's what I need to do. Even though I like to wear a tracksuit, if I have to put on a suit and tie, that's what I have to do for my work. That's what I have to do. That's the image I portray. It doesn't make me fake. It doesn't make me like a snake, or it makes me adaptable. And you know what? When you're adaptable, you can get far in life. Too many of us are trying to be real, but we're more than one. We got personalities. The way I am with you, I might be different with someone else. It doesn't make me fake. The environments that I'm in, the energy that I get, will create a different energy will come out of me. And I feel like a lot of us are on this being real and stick to who?
For that's what I'm trying to. Most of that being real is not even real anyway.
It's all fake anyway.
Yeah.
Because you know,
it's an ego thing.
True time is when it's time to step up. Bear man are talking the big talk. If that was me, I would knock him out. When it's time, My man's just like, whatever. You man, come me. You understand?
Yeah.
But in the moment, it's easy to talk. Then there's the case of when I look at Raheem Sterling and what he's done over the last year
Of
in
course.
regards to stepping up. But let me tell you, he can only do what he does because he backs it up with the success on the football pitch.
Of course.
And so that's why it's so important for us to be successful. It's so important for us to achieve because nobody listens to a loser.
It's true.
Nobody wants to hear the words of a loser.
I agree.
You understand?
Preach.
So we must achieve, and when we achieve and they accept our achievements, then we must teach. Then we must show them, look, this is not right. But too many times we want to show, this is not right. Brother, we're coming from a place of doing nothing. Why am I listening to you?
I think, you know what, you basically said it there. Focus on achievement. Focus on success. And that will open the gateway.
Come on.
And I think that's where we wrap it up.
Definitely, my bro.
Cool.